It's a cool fall day as I slide into the soft leather seat of my new car, a Mini-Wagon. The Mini designation comes from comparing its size with an SUV. I feel like a pilot in the cockpit of an old 747. The 50 buttons, knobs, and levers arranged according to a plan, seemingly designed by a demented squirrel, dare me to figure out how to be the car's sound engineer, mechanic, and indoor weather control person, as well as the driver. If they all turned into gauges, the instrument panel would resemble that of one of those old airplanes. I take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Buttons of assorted shapes wear pictures and letters, giving hints about, but not clear guidance to their areas of expertise. The 15 buttons and 2 knobs of the audio system alone, for example, can apparently find radio stations by 5 different methods and regulate the balance, the treble, the bass, the fade of sound, to please the fussiest of recording technicians. I like to listen to books. However, I foresee an extended learning curve to operate that function and hold off for now, not wanting to open that can of worms yet. Now that I've been sitting here for a moment taking in the big picture, I know I must figure out the little pictures, notably those on the buttons. I observe that most of the buttons are tucked into and flush with the surfaces of my cockpit. Few stick out like buttons are supposed to. 4 square flush buttons for opening and closing windows. The word auto appears on the first one. Nestle in my armrest conveniently in the arrangement of the actual windows they control. Fan buttons have 4-leaf clovers on them. Each leaf sports a slightly concave edge. 3 squiggly arrows indicate air blowing on the windshield, represented by a Japanese fan. Or the back window, a rectangle. A shallow concave round one to adjust the rear view mirrors fits there too. I can at least feel its edges. A switch selects the mirror to change, L or R, and then I push in on the north, east, south, or west sides of the button to move the mirror up, down, or sideways. Larger buttons in the console open and close the sliding doors on either side of my window or wagon. 2 line drawings of the wagon are on each of the 2 buttons, picturing open and closed doors. Like a snotty butler, the wagon takes its own sweet time about opening. Furthermore, it makes a grunting noise expressing its disdain when I forget to unlock the doors first. Then I get a little crazy and decide that I do want to listen to my book after all. What puzzle is keeping Poirot's little gray cells working? I confidently press what I think is the tape player play button. Not a good idea. My smarty pants machine buzzes and uses the instrument panel for a light and picture show. Apparently I've not met its exacting standards. All I want is assurance that there's a book in the tape player. The tape player. A sudden wave of nostalgia rushes over me. When did the good old days of the 8-track tapes end? It's deja vu all over again. The CD player came with a bang, but I have lots of book tapes. This bell, or is it a whistle, was not included in the original design, so I had one installed. The hints are more obscure than ever on its operating buttons, so I grabbed my handy post-it note from the ditty basket I stuck to the console to hold such necessities and jot down a reminder to memorize them before my next outing. Then, without even trying to, my eyes spot the button to keep my fanny warm. One can even keep your fanny warm if you care to rhyme with me. Sorry, keeping our bottoms cool isn't part of their job description. Regaining my confidence, I see that the climate control panel has 15 buttons to regulate temperatures in 3 zones: driver, front and rear passengers. If I'm not happy with the automatic system, I can press the circulation, defroster, fan speed, or AC buttons to change something. That, of course, necessitates reading parts of the owner's manual I haven't perused yet. Safety features are one reason I bought my wagon. The side airbags are a notable example. They hide in invisible pockets by the window and explode out over the window on impact to be in place before my head can crash into it. Comfortable. Better than having one hit me in the face. But the wagon has one of those too. Wanting to get my mind off the crash image, I look back to the console and find the button that says VSA/off. I try to guess. Ventilation system activated? That would be helpful. Up in the mountains over 7,000 or 8,000 feet. Add a little oxygen to my interior environment. But then I remember the owner's manual. It's vehicle stability assist, which, quote, detects impending oversteer or understeer, and it automatically applies braking and or reduces throttle to stabilize the vehicle. How smart is that? And how far can you trust the button? I reach down and gingerly pull a small lever under my console, and that opens the little door covering the fuel shelf can. That's a good thing. See, the hood is released by 1 and 4 level. If I were a contortionist or a steering wheel were in the way, I could reach it. It appears as though when the time comes, I'll have to get out of my car to free the hood. I know a low, disgruntled sigh. The time has come. I cannot stall any longer. I screw up my courage to put my bewildering transportation system into action. First, back it out of my driveway. I press a big silver oval-shaped button that's in the top half in a ball on the top of my lever on my front console to the right of my steering wheel. Gears, I understand. Operating the sturdy lever gives me a feeling of being in charge of the vehicle. It's a safety feature too, since it shifts me out of the pampered, helpless mood that overcame me when I slid into the seductive leather driver's seat. One drawback here, I'm used to the gear being on the left side of my steering column, where the windshield wiper controls now are. Looks like my windshield is going to be the cleanest one on the block. With delight, I realize I have 10 settings to wet and wipe front and back windows. But then I realize it lacks an elf to get out there with a sharp fingernail to scrape off the smashed bugs that remain. I shift again up and on the road, free at last. I have little to do other than watch out for cars at intersections, cuss stupid drivers for poking along in front of me, or swerving into my lane unannounced. I even find the play button on the tape player and capture a moment of calm at the stoplight and concentrating on my book. As I glide in traffic like I'm back in high school, driving in public, by myself for the first time, the jingle of my keychain draws attention to the little red bar on my remote. The salesman said that it's a panic button that honks my wagon's horn. Fear of bodily harm in the grocery store parking lot has not been an issue so far in my rather long life. However, a panic attack threatens when my car hides itself among the multitude of SUVs in the parking lot. I feel in control again when I realize that a firm press of my fingernail on that red bar will alert the lost vehicle to honk and keep honking until I, and the rest of the shopping public, know its exact location. I pull onto the freeway a little more secure in my new role as a Mini-Wagon pilot. I'm grateful that the creators of these challenging machines have kept us old people in mind. Every person in the third age of life needs to buy a new car. They provide the needed puzzle solving and memory activity to ward off dementia. And that can only be a good thing. And then I realize as my cockpit hums and my instrument panel signals my takeoff, there's one thing I'm going to have to manage all by myself.